Hey everyone, it's Laura Myers for CMS-Connected here at Sitecore Symposium 2018, and I'm joined by Mark Floisand, the CMO of Coveo. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Laura.
Yeah, it's actually great. I interviewed you one of my early interviews with CMS-Connected, and I think it was a Skype interview, so it's great to finally meet you in person.
That's right. I'm delighted to be here. Thanks for making the time.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this. So we've had lots of great conversations at this event, so we're going to touch on some of them here. So one of the cool things we talked about was there's a lot of new technology out there, but you feel that there are some considerations that organizations need to have beyond the immediate need that they're trying to solve that you could go into here. So what are some of those?
Yeah, it's a good point. I think as a marketeer, one of the things that always delights me on the one hand is you come to an event like this and there are so many new shiny things to look at. It's that shiny penny syndrome. Let me pick this up, let me pick that up. And we all know there's 7,000 plus vendors out there vying for the marketing tech dollar. And it becomes kind of hard to decide what to buy, what not to buy, what to rent, what to subscribe to, which new service to take on board. Because probably all of them solve a particular thing. And that's all meritorious. The challenge, I think, from a marketeer is to also understand the implications of what one subscribes to down the track.
Yeah.
And so it's almost a question of, to make your own life easier, how do you get almost like a shopping framework of, these are the things I've got to be cognizant of every time I invest in a new technology. And they include things like, where does that data live? Is there information that this service may gather about prospects or customers that in and of itself is useful on the service, but could be put to use elsewhere? And do I, as a marketeer, have access to it? Is that data mine, or is it the vendors?
Yeah.
Because if we part company a year down the track, what happens to it? These are the kind of things that I think every good marketeer should consider when they're considering new technology. Yes, there's a point problem to solve, but what's the context of that?
Yeah.
And how do you potentially ensure that you're continuing to get access to things like customer interaction data in this new service or medium or whatever it is that can be put to work elsewhere in the business?
Yeah. And along those same lines, is there a sort of technology trend that you feel people are still, or marketers, for example, are still resistant to embrace?
Yeah, it's a good point. Talking of this notion of interaction data, one of the things we at Coveo observe is that there is no shortage of awareness of the fact that customer expectations have gone up. Many organizations are struggling with that kind of catch-up gap. Consumer expectations are high and most firms are not yet there. And they recognize that a lot of stepping up to that challenge is dependent on this interaction data about customers. But the struggle is that it is siloed.
Yeah.
It exists in pockets. And because it's siloed and exists in pockets, it's really hard to systematically have a single view of your customer. And so I think one of the challenges that we see is on the one hand, an acceptance that this information needs to be there, good. And I think that's become quite common, if not completely solving it, certainly accepting it needs to be solved. The thing I'm not yet seeing is perhaps the acceptance that having done that content, that interaction information can be put to work by machine learning algorithms that will dynamically put it to work and generate content to meet the needs of each of those individuals whose data it is.
Yeah.
That I think we're still seeing in very much the early adopter phase, where people are saying, can I run a test that will enable me to see algorithm-based presentation that I'm comfortable with?
Yeah.
And if I'm comfortable with it, realizing I can't curate that by hand at scale, I can build up enough confidence to start allowing more of those digital experiences to be, frankly, auto-generated.
Yeah.
That, I think, is something that many marketeers have got a little bit of a cultural barrier to, but it's the only way you can do this at scale.
Yeah, so they'll have to get there. Yeah. We actually had a really interesting conversation earlier about connected commerce, so why don't we go into that a little bit?
Sure. So on that point, if you think of the shopping experience itself, the irony of it is that every marketeer will have had drummed into them, it's whatever it is, 8 or 9 times cheaper to keep a customer than to acquire a new one. Acquiring new customers is expensive.
Yeah.
And yet, if we look at the vast majority of spend, marketing dollar goes into acquiring new customers.
Yeah.
So there's this addiction almost to acquiring, to spending on acquisition channels with really low yield, but nonetheless hitting some sales numbers that are predicated on spending an amount of money, look at certain conversion rates, and hey presto, you hit your number. But you burn a lot of, opportunities to engage with people along the way because the yield is so low. And yet, those same organizations have existing customers with existing information. They've got data about what those customers bought, those individuals, what their shirt size is, what their shipping preferences are, whether they shop on a weekend or a weekday, whether they're a cash customer, whether they prefer home delivery or pickup. The list goes on and on and on and on. All of this information is known.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the bowels of that organization, that information is known to the level of the individual. But is it being systematically put to work to deliver a specific content offer, product recommendation, next predicted experience, harnessing that information? The answer is generally no.
Yeah.
And for me, that represents a challenge because this information's there, the bar has been raised in terms of customer experience, and all the raw material to do a pretty damn good job on this stuff exists within most firms.
Yeah.
But they're not doing two things. One, they're not thinking about the fact that why spend 8 times as much acquiring new customers when you have so much knowledge about your current ones that you could, frankly, better service them with, better understand what they're likely to need next, anticipate usage cycles, and proactively, cost-effectively market new offerings, cross-sells, upsells to them in a way that is harmonious. And you've got all this other interaction data along the way that you picked up about them that caused them to become customers. So from a machine learning standpoint, which is one of the things we at Coveo really drill into, this is all of the what you call signals, the outcomes that machine learning uses to learn.
Yeah.
This sequence of events, this set of data, this arc of content culminated in an outcome that was a transaction. Let's call that good.
Yeah.
And all these other ones didn't culminate. Let's call that not good.
Yeah.
Well, machine learning continuously swallows that data and makes recommendations about what people would need next. So the opportunity to use that customer data, use that interaction information to proactively offer up more relevant content to people who have arrived for the first time, it's all set in there.
Yeah.
I don't yet see too many firms fully embracing the capability to do that, and yet they have the customer data. So, our spiel within that, if you like, is there's a whole lot of content that people may want to consume across the enterprise that's available in pockets. Maybe they're in Google Drives or SharePoint folders or CMS registries or whatever they are. Unify all that, make it into one content resource that can be used to inject the most relevant content along each individual journey.
Yeah.
And all of those interactions with that content, capture those, feed this into machine learning, and have it predict what people are most likely to need next. That capability is there today, and it really will go a long way to improving connected commerce.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, thanks so much, Mark. This has been great.
Sure, thank you for your time.
Yeah.